So, Tasha, we spent a whole bunch of time talking with our listeners today about the counter tariffs announced today by various Canadian ministers. Interesting. Did I miss this, or was the Prime Minister not there?
The Prime Minister wasn't supposed to be there. You didn't miss. He wasn't there.
Okay.
François-Philippe Champagne was very excitedly there, very excited, standing in. He's usually pretty animated, but he really was. It was him, Melanie Joly, and Evan Solomon and other ministers, but there was no plan to have the Prime Minister there, actually. Yeah.
Okay, because it made it seem like I will announce tomorrow what the counter tariffs are, but then they rolled at everybody today, which, I guess made sense.
Yeah.
So give me a reaction to what you did here today. We were told this was going to happen, and this is exactly what played out.
It is the dollar for dollar, the laundry list of things, everything from appliances to jewelry to all sorts, stuff that comes across the border, and it's designed to affect particular jurisdictions too. Cheese curds, think of Wisconsin cheese. I guess they're gonna, be hit with more tariffs. The sort of pain points that were important that the government felt that they should push. There's also, of course, the measures to support businesses and individuals, expanding EI eligibility for workers who are affected by layoffs related to tariffs, and those who may have left their jobs because without realizing that this would be coming down the pipe, and now we'll need an extension because there won't be jobs to go back to.
Right.
There's a lot of different programs too. Like it's a bit complicated, and the CFIB actually called this out and said it's a bit of an alphabet soup as to how businesses can apply for different types of relief. Some is you have to pay back, and some you don't, and so, it's great that we're doing all this support because clearly businesses will be suffering, but it is a little complicated to navigate.
So with respect to this, though, and someone brought this up in a text message, is this sort of a blue versus red state direct approach by the Canadian government to inflict as much pain as possible?
Well, they're looking at the midterms and they're saying, where are the states that are important? Okay, Michigan's going to be a crucial state. Wisconsin, Maine. Seafood products, for example, from Maine, those will be affected. Autos, well, we know what's happening with that, unfortunately. We're going to be hurt by that too. That affects Michigan. Michigan, in fact, is the most business of any state in the union with Canada. There's the idea that you're going to affect places where Trump will pay a political price. We don't know if that will come to pass because our tariffs go into effect September 8th. The other tariffs that Trump is threatening, the major tariffs, will come in only December 1st. That would be after the midterms are held in November.
Okay, I thought the U.S. tariffs were kicking in January 1st. Am I wrong?
Oh, sorry, January 1st.
Right,
that's correct.
okay.
I'm sorry. I'm my mistake. But I know it's after exactly the idea
right.
that it's not going to be impacting the midterms directly.
So I'm apparently an eternal optimist because as you look at those numbers, Canada still has a week or so left to go. The U.S. don't kick until Jan 1. That seems to leave a window of opportunity for talks to resume. I heard on the U.S. side, J.D. Vance suggested the other day, and he was in Maine, a state that's going to be adversely affected by these, suggesting negotiations were still ongoing. I've not heard that from anyone on the Canadian side. Do we think they're still talking?
If they are, they're not telling us, and you're absolutely right. There's been no indication that we are still at the negotiating table, and the posturing taken today is very clearly, elbows up. No mention of that we were still having those conversations. And Danielle Smith has said we should negotiate before we impose tariffs in a week. She's called for that position. Others are saying, she should get with the program and everyone should be on the same side in terms of the stance we take. So, we'll see. I think Carney articulated it the best when he said, the signature of Donald Trump in the U.S. is often written in pencil. In other words, we can't assume that it will stay there. It could be erased. We can't really trust it. So we don't know. The short answer is if something will change in the next week. One can hope, but right now it looks like everyone's digging in their heels. Okay.
What do we make, by the way? And I know the question was asked today during this announcement on the counter tariffs. I think of François-Philippe Champagne about should we be telling Doug Ford to basically pipe down? Is he basically working against our interests? And he wouldn't touch that. He said, I'm not going to comment on everything Doug Ford says. But I do want people to hear what Doug Ford did say. He was on CNN, right? And listen to this.
Canada has to stand up for their sovereignty. He's not attacking every other country saying that we're the 51st state. That will never happen. Again, we're the number one customer. We buy more goods and products off the U.S. and vice versa, by the way, than anywhere in the world. And I think we need to grow the pie, per se, and create more jobs, more opportunities on both sides of the border. And that's what we want to do. I think President Trump wants to hurt the American people.
Well, I don't know if that's taking it down a notch or not for telling me he could kiss his ass the day before, but what do you think?
Yeah, I've heard that too. I saw that. I thought, maybe there's a little bit of a more positive or constructive tone to that. Yesterday was pretty blistering, and we know that it went back and forth. It was like a bad reality show of calling each other names. There's also those Reagan ads that are running again. That Ontario has put out there that we've seen all over social media. Again, I've seen these ads floating about. I think that Ford is trying to stand up for the auto industry, but he's doing it in a way which is central to Ontario's economy, but doing it in a way that is just incredibly abrasive and not productive. I think keeping a cooler head is a far better way to go, but it's escalating the rhetoric right now. Won't help if we want to get back to the negotiating table. It certainly won't. I don't know if that'll happen in the next week, but I think maybe someone quietly told Ford to take it down a notch, because to me it seemed a little less bombastic. Yeah.
And then, of course, based on that, Donald Trump sending out that map today on his Truth Social post showing his Lake America instead of Lake Ontario. I mean, just so stupid.
Yes.
Doesn't really.
Yeah, well, and this is the thing, is that it's descended into this kind of farce, and it shouldn't be, because there are millions of people, Aaron, who will be impacted by this, who will lose their jobs. Yeah. Businesses that will lose, that will lose customers, losing customers immediately over these tariffs. Their business cut in half. I was reading, but artists are being incredibly impacted because art is being tariffed in the U.S. So sending a canvas across the border now will cost 50% more for their customers. So it's picking on people who really, I think, it's not always the big businesses. It's the little guys. Yeah. It's small businesses too. These are all the people that are going to be having a lot of pain as a result. So making light of it or joking like Trump has done, and even some of Ford's comments, I find disrespectful. But we live in that disrespectful political time.
Boy, do we ever. All right, we'll leave it at that. I just, again, holding out, hope against hope that they can, or that negotiations will begin again. I think that's something probably everybody would like to see happen. I guess in this case, it's kind of who backs down first and says, okay, we're talking in. I don't know.
Yeah, blink. Who will blink first?
Yeah, and start talking. Yeah. All right. Tasha, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hey, I'm Ruby Carr, the host of the podcast Encore. Check out our brand new episodes featuring music from the show that everyone is reheating as we speak, Heated Rivalry. Join me as I go behind the songs that brought Shane and Elia together. I'll tell you the stories of Feist, My Moon, My Man, Wolf Parade's I'll Believe in Anything, and Tattoo's All the Things She Said, and how they all became a part of this global phenomenon. Stream Encore on iHeartRadio, Crave, or wherever you get your podcasts.